Ness scraped down his wash plant mats, expecting nothing more than leftover residue. What came out was nearly 5 ounces of gold. $15,000 recovered from a maintenance job that was supposed to cost money, not generate it. That same morning, an email landed in his inbox confirming a brand new 3,600-acre claim in Kino, the largest single land holding in the entire region. But before any of that happened, Rick hiked through a swamp at midnight, built a road out of his own overburden, and ran 14-hour shifts on a season he simply cannot afford to lose. Right up here, guys, I think that's it. Can we just pay someone to do this? Actually, you can. Trust me, I looked into it. This is what a winning day looks like for Rick Ness, and what it takes to get there. The weight of a season. Rick Ness used to make his living on stage. He toured the world as a professional musician. Real venues, real crowds, a real career built over years on the road. Bass player. Worked his way up from small stages to full touring work. Learned how to make music pay. And built something that most musicians never managed to build. Then a chance encounter with a young gold miner named Parker Schnabel changed the entire course of his life. Rick flew up to Alaska, watched the operation run, and something clicked inside him that never came undone. He walked away from music and into the Yukon wilderness. That was over a decade ago. He hasn't touched his instrument since. When I get this done, I get all that time back. That's the whole reason I'm doing it. I'll be able to get back to music, do a little more racing, spend more time with my friends and family that I'm missing out on right now. Rick is open about the fact that leaving music behind was a genuine loss. Over a decade without playing, a major part of who he was set aside completely. He calls it what it is, a sacrifice. Not with visible bitterness, but with the weight of someone who understood the full price of a decision and made it anyway. The Yukon didn't come cheap. Music was the cost. And the only way that cost makes sense is if the gold is real, the claim holds, and the season delivers what the books require before the ground freezes. The goal this season is 1,800 ounces. That number isn't a target. It's a minimum. Every dollar Rick has spent to be out here, every expense in equipment and fuel and crew wages, has to be recovered by the time freeze-up arrives. Fall short of that pace and the losses pile up fast. There is no partner to share the blow. No fallback position. No investor waiting quietly in the background. No line of credit with forgiving terms. This is the kind of thing I watch for. We're moving a lot of overburden and it's looking like really good gravel. I was thinking about a use for it. There's no gold in it, we have to move it anyway, so how do we make it work? Rick's operation runs entirely on what Rick pulls out of the ground, season after season, in one of the most remote and unforgiving mining territories in North America. He is candid about the anxiety that sits beneath every call he makes. The money is already spent. Equipment, fuel, crew wages, the full cost of putting an operation in the Yukon has already left his account. Every season arrives at a point where the spending is finished and the gold still has to show up. If it doesn't, there is no soft landing. He loses everything he put in, and likely the entire business along with it. A wall of overburden stands between Rick and the pay gravel sitting beneath the Vegas Valley extension. Stripping that overburden is not optional. You cannot run a sluice over ground you haven't uncovered. Every day that overburden stays in place is one more day of the season gone. The 1,800-ounce clock runs whether the dirt is moving or not. And right now the clock is moving faster than the dirt. Rock truck breakdowns have been slowing the strip operation. The road surface is rough, and the repeated pounding is causing mechanical failures before the trucks can do their job. Instead of dumping that gravel in the overburden pile, I think I'm going to have these guys start using it to fix this road. Every loaded truck hammering the same damaged surface shift after shift is wearing out equipment before it can wear down the overburden. The problem is mechanical, but the fix is operational. The overburden has to move, and Rick already knows exactly how. Moving dirt like it costs something. Rick's first move of the day has nothing to do with gold. It's about gravel. His rock trucks have been breaking down. Bad road surface, constant impact damage, unplanned stops that kill momentum across the whole operation. Every breakdown spreads outward. The excavator sits idle. The wash plant sits idle. The stripping crew loses the rhythm that converts individual loads into real tonnage. And the clock keeps running. The solution Rick has in mind costs nothing additional because the material is already being moved. The overburden being stripped from the Vegas Valley extension is quality gravel, dense, compact, exactly what a haul road needs beneath it. The original plan was to dump it on the waste pile, which sits further from the active cut. That means longer truck cycles, more fuel burned per load, and a road surface that keeps destroying equipment every single shift. Rick redirects the loads instead. The overburden goes onto the road rather than the waste pile. One movement of material solves two problems at the same time. Rick's approach to the road fix comes down to a principle he picked up early in his mining career. Moving dirt once is expensive, and moving it twice is unforgivable. Every unnecessary truck run burns diesel, burns hours, and burns the season. It actually helps us speed things up too, because right now we'd be dumping this overburden in the waste pile, which is actually further away than if we were using it to fix this road. The decision to resurface the road with overburden isn't a workaround. It's the most efficient use of material that's already in motion. The logic runs clean from there. A better road surface means fewer mechanical breakdowns. Fewer breakdowns means the trucks turn faster. Faster truck turns means more overburden stripped per shift. More overburden stripped means reaching pay gravel sooner. More time on pay gravel means more ounces through the sluice before the season closes. Rick sees every link in that chain before he gives the first instruction. The road goes in across the cut. The surface firms up under the weight of the trucks. The crews stop fighting the ground and start working with it. The difference is felt almost immediately. The turnaround times tighten, the breakdowns stop stacking up, and the pace of stripping picks up across the entire cut. The shift accelerates. And the next problem is already forming. 14 hours and chicken wraps. To close the gap on the 1,800-ounce target, Rick pushes his crew to 14-hour shifts. 14 hours on heavy equipment in the Yukon isn't just long. It's relentless. The dust doesn't stop. The noise doesn't stop. The concentration required to operate machinery on uneven ground doesn't ease up for a single load. Kyle is running the same circuit on the haul road, load after load, every 20 minutes, for the entire shift. Heather is running the same routine beside him. By hour 10, the cab feels like it's closing in. By hour 12, the gap between loads is the only rest that exists. Rick understands the math on the season. More hours stripping overburden means more opportunity to hit pay gravel before the freeze. But he also understands the math on the people running those hours. A crew that's been fed is a crew that keeps its focus in the cab and doesn't make the kind of mistake that puts a $200,000 rock truck on its side. So Rick takes it on himself to keep his crew functional. Today that means handheld chicken wraps, easy to eat in the cab. No forks, no mess, nothing that requires stopping the truck. It's hard on everyone, but we all want to push through and get down to pay as fast as we can, and have as much sluicing time as possible. Make it a little easier on everyone with some easy-to-eat while driving chicken wraps. Rick moves cab to cab, passing food through windows while Kyle and the others are mid-cycle. They get maybe 20 seconds between loads. The wrap ends up half on the floor. Rick knows that before he even hands it over. He feeds them anyway. He's run those same circuits himself. Passing food through the window mid-shift isn't a gesture. It's a deliberate decision to keep expensive equipment and expensive people running without either of them breaking down. There's nothing complicated about the moment. Rick Ness feeds his crew on a 14-hour shift and doesn't make a word of it. That's why this crew shows up the next morning. When the final load rolls in and the trucks go quiet, the exhaustion is plain on every face. 14 hours done. Every single person still standing. The shift is over. The day is not. Monster Red gets a second life. Monster Red, Rick's wash plant, has just come back from an $18,000 refurbishment. Brand new top deck fitted in the screen deck, rebuilt from one end to the other. It's been sitting and used through the overburden push, waiting for pay gravel that hasn't been reached yet. But Rick doesn't want to wait until the plant is processing gold to find out whether the rebuild held up. He wants to know now. And at the end of a 14-hour shift, with no pay dirt to run, he finds a way. A rock race. Rick's crew loads river rocks into the feeder. Everyone picks their own stone. We're going to have a race to see whose rock gets from the feeder all the way through the plant and out the other end first. A round rock will move through the screen deck fast, but it won't grip the conveyor belt. It'll just spin in place. A flat rock is better for the belt but slower through the screen. Whoever's rock travels from the feed end to the conveyor output first wins. Rick breaks down the physics before the race even begins. A round rock travels quickly through the screen deck but stalls on the conveyor. Too much spin, not enough traction. A flat rock grips the belt but loses time on the screens. The winning stone sits somewhere between the two extremes, and everyone selects their entry based on that reasoning. Bailey loads them in. The crew lines up to watch. 3, 2, 1, go. Kyle's rock rolls backward before it clears the first screen. Jason jumps out to an early lead, clean trajectory, building speed. Ryan's rock appears to have stopped moving entirely. Rick tracks somewhere in the middle of the pack. Then Heather, who no one was paying attention to, starts making ground. Her rock, which nobody had picked as a serious contender, finds grip on the conveyor while everyone else is losing momentum. Heather wins cleanly. Who's that out in front? Is that Heather? I think it might be Heather. Shoot. Heather won. Yes, that's me. First across the line in the inaugural Rick's rock race. Kyle's rock eventually stops going backward and starts going sideways. Ryan's finishes last. Rick finishes somewhere in the middle. The plant processes every single rock without jamming, without the screen deck failing, without the conveyor throwing anything off the belt. After an $18,000 refurbishment, Monster Red runs exactly the way it should. The rebuilt top deck held under load. The screen performed cleanly across every rock size. The conveyor belt carried everything through without a jam or a slip. That is what an $18,000 rebuild looks like when it's done right. No gold in the jar yet, but a plant that's ready for gold in the jar. Rick heads into the bush, midnight staking mission. The remote Yukon bush at midnight is not a forgiving place to be on foot. Rick goes anyway. He has identified ground on the edge of his current operation that could anchor the entire future of his mining business. A new claim that, if secured, pushes his total land holdings past 3,600 acres and makes him the largest landowner in Keno. Ground of that size, sitting directly adjacent to territory he already knows produces gold, changes the scale of what's possible out here. Not just for this season, for every season that follows. Canadian mining law requires the claimant to physically walk the entire perimeter and install each corner post in person. No proxies, no shortcuts. Rick investigated alternatives early and found none. The only way to secure the claim is to show up in the bush and plant the post yourself. Rick assembles Kyle and Jason, loads the GPS, and they go. Headlamps on, boots on, into the Yukon dark. The first two posts go in cleanly. The terrain is manageable and the GPS is cooperating. Jason keeps the mood lighter with a running joke about asserting dominance over the local bear population on his first day in the Yukon. Rick plays along. The Yukon wilderness at midnight is easier to move through when someone is making the crew laugh. Post 3 is a different story. The GPS marks the third corner directly across a section of swamp. I think it's probably time to stop overthinking it. GPS says we're almost there. Ready? Let's do it. Dense, dark, standing water. No route around it. Kyle looks at it and walks straight in. The water rises past his boots and keeps rising. The ground shifts unpredictably beneath each step. Roots and deadfall lurk below the surface where they can't be seen. Rick and Jason watch from the bank while Kyle pushes toward the far side with the post and the equipment, moving as quickly as the swamp allows. Then, somewhere in the darkness ahead of where Kyle is standing, a chainsaw starts up. In the middle of the night, in the remote Yukon wilderness, Rick's crew goes completely still. Someone is operating machinery in the same area they are actively trying to stake. If a competing crew files on the same ground first, everything Rick's crew has done is worthless. First filed wins. There is no appeal, no credit given for effort already made. Rick doesn't stop to confirm what the sound is. He calls the pace and they move. Kyle powers through. The post goes in. They're already moving toward the final corner before Kyle is fully back on dry ground. The brush thickens to the point where moving forward means forcing through it bodily. Branches come down across the path. The ground underfoot is uneven and unpredictable. What began as a manageable midnight hike has become a full physical effort just to reach the last coordinate. Post 4. Done. Rick and his crew have physically walked the complete perimeter of 3,600 acres of Yukon wilderness at midnight, through swamp and deadfall in the dark with a GPS and a set of survey posts, because there is no other way to claim it. Staking complete what the pre-wash actually found. Heather sets a jar on the cook shack table the following morning and tells Rick what it is before he even reaches for it. The gold from the pre-wash. And it is noticeably heavy for what it's supposed to be. Nearly 5 ounces of gold sit in that jar. Roughly $15,000 at current prices. It's the gold from your pre-wash. It's heavy. Pretty good for 2 buckets of dirt. Did you weigh it? I did. Just under 5 ounces. It came from the pre-wash Rick's crew ran before the Monster Red rebuild. 2 to 3 hours of scraping down the plant sluice mats to capture whatever gold had built up before the machinery was taken apart. Standard procedure before a plant goes down for major work. Nobody ran that process expecting significant weight. Rick picks up the jar. The heaviness registers on his face before he says a word. He asks Heather to confirm the number. Just under 5 ounces. At current gold prices, that's close to $15,000. Rick does the math out loud. 2 to 3 hours of work, 5 ounces recovered. Somewhere close to $5,000 an hour from a process that was only ever meant to be overhead. Clean up before the real work began. The rebuild was always going to be a cost, a necessary one, but a cost. The pre-wash didn't just reduce that cost. It nearly erased it. 5 ounces of gold recovered from mat scraping brought the net cost of the $18,000 rebuild down to roughly $3,000. A repair that was supposed to drain the operation almost paid for itself before a single ounce of pay gravel ran through the newly rebuilt screens. The pre-wash math is almost hard to believe when you say it plainly. 2 to 3 hours of scraping, 5 ounces recovered, $5,000 an hour from a process that existed solely because the plant was being dismantled for maintenance. Heather hands Rick a juice box to mark the occasion. That is the brutal and occasionally beautiful reality of running a mining operation. Most days the numbers work against you, but some days the cleanup residue from a repair job is worth $15,000. Rick looks at the jar and the calculations are visibly running behind his eyes. He's already working out what this means for the season pace. He knows most days don't pay off like this. Most repairs are just costs. And the best news of the morning is still waiting in his inbox. The confirmation. Rick's phone buzzes while the pre-wash gold is still sitting on the table. The email is from the claims office. Oh dude, look at that. Did you get it? It's a done deal. We got it. Nice. Oh, perfect. The midnight staking mission, 4 corner posts, 1 swamp crossing, 1 chainsaw cutting somewhere through the darkness, has been processed and approved. The claim is registered. The paperwork went through before anyone else's. The ground is his. Over 3,600 acres. The largest single land holding in Kino. That number makes Rick the biggest landowner in the region. Not narrowly, but by the full footprint of a newly registered claim sitting directly next to ground he's already working. Adjacent claims mean the operation can expand without picking up and relocating to unfamiliar territory. Adjacent claims mean geological continuity. Adjacent claims mean that whatever gold runs through the Vegas Valley extension has a path forward into the next section of ground for seasons to come. In the space of a single day, Rick's operation staked a new 3,600-acre claim, recovered $15,000 in unexpected gold from a pre-wash, and resurfaced the Hall Road using its own overburden. 3 problems solved. 3 wins recorded. None of them part of the plan at the start of the shift. Kyle produces a crown from behind his back. The crew has been watching the whole season unfold. The stakes, the sacrifice, the midnight staking mission, the pre-wash gold. And they mark the morning with a title, King of Kino, largest landowner in the region. Rick laughs, the full, unguarded kind. He knows the title is going to stick. In a single day, Ness built a road out of his own overburden, ran 14-hour shifts without losing a crew member, validated an $18,000 plant rebuild with a rock race, recovered nearly $15,000 in unexpected gold from a pre-wash, and secured 3,600 acres of new mining ground in the Kino region. The title fits whether he wants it to or not. The real cost of chasing gold. Rick Ness gave up music to be here. He gave up racing. He gave up years of time with people who have been waiting for him to come back. On the other side of 1,800 ounces is the version of his life that he put on pause. Music, racing, time with the people who have been waiting. Every shift and every staking mission is a payment toward that. The mining isn't the destination. It's the price of admission to everything that comes after. That's the version of his life that exists beyond 1,800 ounces. The one he's buying with 14-hour shifts and midnight hikes through swamp and a decade without ever picking up an instrument. Every decision Rick makes out here has that future attached to it. The road improvement, the rock race, the staking mission, none of it is purely operational. All of it is currency toward a life he can't access yet. He is equally clear about the downside. Rick built this operation without a partner and without a safety net. A season that falls short doesn't mean a difficult year. It means everything is gone. The investment, the decade of sacrifice, the 3,600 acres of Kino ground staked at midnight through a swamp. All of it contingent on the gold showing up before the freeze. If it doesn't, he loses everything he put in, and likely the business along with it. He says so directly without dramatizing it because it is simply the truth. Today the math worked. The road is better. The plant is proven. The ground is his. The jar on the table holds $15,000 that nobody planned for. But 1,800 ounces doesn't care about any of that. And the season isn't over yet.